I am so glad that Judge Lyman did not issue a gag order in this case. Hello, my fam. Perez Hilton here, the queen of all media, the original influencer, going on 21 years, and your number one source for everything. It ends with us. Saga. Earlier today, the lawyer for Justin Baldoni, Bryan Freedman, who is also my lawyer, very expensive he is, he sat down and chatted in a new podcast interview. And he had a lot to say. Freedman wanted to emphasize that Justin Baldoni is truly a good guy, and that he was not happy with all of the negative press that Blake Brown was getting around the release of their movie, It Ends With Us. At one point, Bryan Freedman addressed the host of the podcast. The show is called The Town, and Matthew Baldoni, I think that's how you pronounce it, Baldoni, he brought up the text messages that were included in her original complaint, which appeared to show his publicist and crisis PR expert gloating about all of the negative press that she was getting. He said that emojis were removed from those conversations in her initial complaint that made it clear they're joking around about articles that were organically published. For example, Jen Abel, his publicist, texted Melissa Nathan, the crisis PR expert, "You really outdid yourself with this piece," but they excluded the upside down happy face emoji. They also excluded another exchange where they literally said, "had nothing to do with this," in regards to another article that was not very positive about the alleged nose job recipient. Alleged. I gotta protect myself. In fact, says his lawyer, the publicists are saying, "We had nothing to do with this whatsoever." And there's other people that say the same thing, and that organically this press was coming out. Justin wasn't happy about anything that would be negative about Blake, about the movie, about him, or anything. This wasn't about him or just about her. This was about the project they were working on together. A project that he had been working on for years before her. Freedman says It Ends With Us was a passion project for Justin Baldoni, and that he was not happy with any of the negative press surrounding the film. Quote, "The last thing he wanted to see was anything online that would somehow criticize the movie." He says that he was communicating with his publicist and crisis PR expert to, quote, "know what was happening out there and if there was anything that people could do differently to change the response to the movie or otherwise." It wasn't in his interest for Blake Lively to be negatively criticized. It's not in his interest for him to be negatively criticized. It's not in his interest for this movie to do anything other than reap rewards at the box office and to have domestic violence survivors feel an affinity to the project and to be understood and to be heard. Freedman said that communications between Baldoni and his representatives included in Lively's lawsuit was truly something that was organic when press would come out. They weren't happy about negative press about Blake Lively and how she marketed the movie. I don't know if I believe that. They were probably happy about the negative press that she was getting. Come on, don't play us for fools, Bryan Freedman. Additionally, they talked about the protective order issue and the hair care professional's request for an attorney's eyes only designation. If you missed my video from this morning, the judge partially granted that request. There will be an AEO category, but for very specific topics. Trade secrets, health-related issues, if something is truly damaging, if it got out there. And the judge also said, if this goes to trial and it's entered into evidence, It will no longer be confidential. So that's really a huge win for Justin Baldoni. And the judge also brought up the fact that the lawyers are making so much money. The judge, in a not so subtle way today, was trying to get these two to settle. So, in a pre-trial conference that was held virtually on March 6th, both of their sides made their cases for why this extra layer of protection was needed or not needed. His lawyer said, quote, "My client has no intent of harming Miss Lively in any way. My clients have a right to defend themselves. That is in no way abusing the victim." It's interesting you said not abusing the victim, the podcast host asked his lawyer. Does that mean you agree that Blake is a victim here? His attorney responded, "I actually think that a lot of people are victims here. I think Justin is a victim here. I think Melissa Nathan is a victim. I think Jed Wallace is a victim. I think Jen Abel is a victim. I think Steve Sorowitz is a victim. I think Jamie Heath is." Pressing him, the podcast host said, "But you did say Blake is a victim in a court hearing." "What I said is," his lawyer shot back, "this is not attacking the victim." When the host said he had put scare quotes around the word victim, Freedman said, "Yeah, well, victim can be in the eye of the beholder." The Basement Banishers legal team have referred to her as a victim repeatedly, and they've referred to him as a predator and a sexual harasser repeatedly. And in other news directly related to this all, as I told you a few days ago, the uncredited director of It Ends With Us was in Austin for the South by Southwest Film Festival and the premiere of her new movie co-starring Anna Kendrick, Another Simple Favor. Well, the reviews are in and they are scathing. Another Simple Favor was blasted as silly and sometimes trying by The Hollywood Reporter. Variety accused her movie, directed by Paul Feig, as samey sameness and noted it drags on. Wah, wah. The Hollywood Reporter noted that the movie doesn't prove to be the exception to the rule that sequels rarely live up to the standards of their predecessors, calling the movie as well often very ridiculous and sometimes trying, while praising the chemistry between Blake and Anna. The critic said, "The movie is watchable because of the friendship between Blake and Anna's characters," but added, "It's a shame then that these characters and their friendship aren't more deeply developed." The Hollywood Reporter's critic accused Another Simple Favor of overemphasizing antics to justify its existence and complained that the script relies on so much expository dialogue, giving some scenes a mechanical quality, adding that the movie both diverts and drags on, noting that it was more labored than clever. Wah, wah. This is my favorite part. The critic for Variety says that the sequel offers more of the same and not enough of it and too much of it. That reminds me of that quote from Scarlett Johansson. You know which one I'm talking about. "I don't want to be identified as being in this time and place with you." Variety adds that the sequel feels like an elaborate kitsch crime schematic that the performers are going through the motions acting out. Oh, going through the motions. Do you plan on seeing Another Simple Favor when it premieres on Amazon Prime in May? And thoughts on what Justin Baldoni's lawyer has said? Let's discuss it all in the comments section. Mwah!